Hey guys, we are live and we are here to actually announce a pretty cool and exciting offer. I'm calling it the 747 laptop special, and I created this thumbnail with a big 747 in it and a laptop. What's all that about, right? And I had this idea. I've got a story to share with you guys about someone I talked to recently named Lisa, and she was saying, hey, I want to buy your program, but right now I'm saving up for a laptop because if I don't have a laptop, I can't do Power Apps. I got the idea. It's like, how many other people might be like her? It's like they both need a laptop. Maybe they only have a work laptop or a work computer, and they don't like them using it for any personal reasons. I completely
Yeah,
understand. So
yeah,
there's probably a lot of people out there that need a good, decent laptop. And I'm not talking about a notebook. I'm talking, that just runs Android or something like that. I'm talking about a real laptop like a Dell that's got a hard drive and memory. That's something that's decent to work on. So that's what this is all about. And I'm going to go through some of these items here. And this is for those of you who love our content. I have it here on the screen. If you're new here, check out our crash course. That's a free crash course I have out there. And I also have this thing here. This is a link to our free community. Okay. And the crash course is actually hosted inside that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys a link to this, okay, right here in the chat. Okay, so you guys can access all these links and the outline and everything. Okay, so there's that. But I also had somebody just comment on one of my YouTube videos, like, "Hey, I watched your crash course. What's next? What do I do next?"
right,
You have an
right.
answer for that, Kurt? That would be good to give somebody like that.
Well, we've got so many things. It just depends on where you want to go with it, right? We've got a couple offerings that are pretty good, but definitely the PPC is where we want to go next. I think.
Yeah, so you just mentioned we do have a lot of offer. We have a lot of stuff for free. Obviously, we have hundreds of videos out on YouTube. We got videos out on TikTok. We've got all kind. We got the crash course free. We got the community for free. So if you don't have any money this week or whatever, hey, there's plenty of stuff that is available to you. Okay, but you said we've got a lot. We have a lot of offerings. Well, what about an offer that includes everything that I offer, or almost everything? I put in the word almost. Okay. I mean, our big happening thing is the accelerator program. And the accelerator program isn't necessarily for everyone. It comes down to what your needs are, what you're trying to do, that type of thing. But let me show you what it is I'm prepared to offer. Okay. Now, my wife Nicole, you guys have probably met her, and sometimes she's on the channel, and uh, something she's told me. She goes, "Darren, you want to create an offer that is like too good to be true, or so good that people feel um, uh, like
They can't say
they're
no.
they
They
can't
can't
say
say.
no.
They can't say no.
It's an irresistible offer."
Irresistible offer.
So whenever I do business with anybody, this is how I like to do business. Number one, it's all about relationships, and you never burn bridges. You always take care of people, and I'm always looking for that win-win situation. If you're in business, you're looking to make some money, right?
Yeah.
So there's the win on my side. Well, what about your side? How can I get you to win more than I'm winning in
Yep.
this? Okay. So first of all, I'm prepared to send out laptops for people that take me up on this offer. Okay. Now the laptop, I would just call that a bonus. Okay. It sort of sweetens the deal. And I say this is a bonus item. Now I'm going to go over the specs of what exactly I'm offering here in just a little bit, but it's a decent laptop. It's a laptop that I buy for almost all my staff members. If somebody asks me, "Hey, I just need a laptop to do various things," um, I say, "Check out this." So I buy them in bulk. I have a distributor that I go to, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. But you'll get an annual membership to our daily pocket coaching. Okay, so that is pocket-sized or bite-sized content. Okay. And Kurt, I think what we'll do here in a few minutes is we'll actually show some of these more popular PPC videos. You see where it says, well, we've been calling it personal pocket coaching. Okay. So if you ever hear us say PPC, that's what we're talking about. This is a video about Power Apps or your Power Apps career every single day of the year.
Yeah.
Including holidays. Okay. Um, so 365 pocket-sized videos each day of the year. Okay. Um, and the value I have at that is $894. And what I offered in the month of January, okay, was half off of this. Okay. But now I'm closing down that offer, and then I'm offering even a bigger offer, with this laptop bonus. Okay. You get the ultimate jumpstart kit. Some of you may know what that is. That is my template. You guys notice when you open up Power Apps, you start to create an app, and you've got all these choices of like different templates to use. Well, Darren's got his own template that he uses for almost every project. It's got a menu. It's got my header. My header control. It's got 12 different features or common denominators that I'd want in every single one of my apps. Okay. So I sell that for $250, but that's included in this offer. Okay. You get the ticketing system course. So I created that probably almost a year ago, and I offered it at $1,000 or $997 is what I have here. It's over 40 hours of instructional content, and ticketing systems are really big. I mean, I had somebody tell me recently, it's like, if you want a good ticketing system, companies are paying like hundreds of thousands of dollars for ticketing systems. And I'm like, wow, you could use the one from the course. So you get access to my ticketing system project file that you could just use and use SharePoint as a backend. So you get that. You get a full hour. Now for the month of January, I was offering a half an hour, but now I'm going to offer a full hour. I'm trying to create an offer so good it's irresistible, right? And we charge $250 an hour for our time. Okay. So that's a $250 value. So Kurt, that brings us up to $2,390 USD of value. Okay. That's not even including the laptop. Okay. So I don't know. How much should we offer this for? Do you have any offer amounts in mind, Kurt?
Well, I think didn't we have something to deal with an airplane or something?
An airplane? What did that airplane look like to you?
I mean, looked like a 747 to me.
You know what? Let's go with that, Kurt. Let's make this offer. Let's see if I can get in here. Oh, there we go. 747. How about $747 for all that stuff?
It's a 747 takeoff PPC special. The takeoff.
We should have called this. Boom. Launch your Power Apps career.
Yeah, get the wheels up.
So for under $1,000, I mean, my ticketing system I was selling. You guys know I had some surgery done. I had just put out a payment link for my ticketing system about a year ago, right before I had surgery done, and selling for $1,000. And when I woke up from my surgery, I'd sold 2 of them. I'm like, well, that was the greatest surgery to have. But guys, I'm offering all of this, okay, for less than what I was offering the ticketing system course for. So, and what this is for, it's for those who love the content that Kurt and I produce here. If you're not, this is the first time you've seen me, then I'd suggest check out my free content. Make sure that, find out if it jives with you, if it's really helpful to you. We hear from a lot of people, hey, your content is like, I'm sort of blown away when they say I'm the best. I'm like, well, come on. There are a lot of other guys out here I really respect that they do some quality content. I'm never going to claim I'm the best, but maybe just how I talk or something, it just really speaks to them. Or maybe it's Kurt. Maybe they think Kurt's like incredibly handsome and his good looks is why they stick around. I don't know. You never know until you do a survey, right, Kurt?
You just never know. And even then you never know.
So guys, we're actually going to show you guys some of these personal pocket coaching videos. I need to make sure that there's 3 of them. I need to make sure that they're uploaded. Go ahead, Kurt.
Before you go doing that, I want to talk a little bit.
Okay.
I'm not even sure how I want to put this out there because I haven't really thought about it until just listening to you talk. It's kind of inspired me a little bit. But, you know, the thing of it is, it's never been the value of the products that we put out. The reason why is because I think, you know, we want to go beyond just selling some kind of a product here. You know, we don't want to just be selling something. I mean, we can do that. We could write a book and sell it. You know, we could put out some cool video package and just sell it, you know, but it's more about, we have a desire. We found something that works for us. We found a way of fundamentally programming, developing software, and we want to show other people. I've been doing this for a long time. I was going into community colleges and adult learning centers, trying to bring people in. Look, this developing software, and Power Apps is new, guys. You know that. You're out there in the corporate world working right now, probably watching this, and you know this new platform that Microsoft has is taking over, and you're trying to catch the stream. You're trying to catch in onto it. This has been going on for a number of years in different platforms. And Darren and I have been going into these places saying, look, there's an easy way to do this. We're trying to make this hurdle not as steep, this hill not as heavy of a climb for you to learn this stuff. We know how to do this. We've been through it. We know we've struggled with it. We know what works and what doesn't. And we want to be able to help you through that and navigate through that and get going faster. That's why we have this thing called an accelerator program, because we want to accelerate that journey. And so this is more than just selling something for us. People always talk about, well, Kurt, you know, you got so much passion. And they say the same thing about Darren. And the reason why is because we believe in this. We believe in it. And it's beyond that. It's more about relationships. It's more about the people. I want to empower people. I just love the feeling of empowering somebody, you know,
I do too.
And bringing somebody into the fold, bringing them in. I don't like that big me, little you type mentality that we see so much in this world today. I like to have everybody in here working together. You know, my goal, and Darren's, is that you're going to work right next to us someday in a project, and you'll be able to do that. Now, maybe you do it, maybe you don't, but you'll have that capability. And I just believe that this PPC offering and the accelerator program, that's the ticket. That's the way to get there. Yeah. So go ahead, Darren. I just wanted to get that off my chest there. I had some stuff on my chest there.
Absolutely. You know, I'm gonna, let's talk about this laptop. What type of laptop are we talking about, guys? Well, so most of the time, what it is, I'm gonna put in here brand. Okay, it's not gonna be some weird brand you never heard of. Okay, so the supplier that I use, they constantly supply me with Dells. It could be an HP or something else. This is what I use for a lot of my staff. I buy them for my kids. I recommend it for people just looking for a decent laptop. Okay. And it has iCore or a Core i5 6200U, which is a 2.3 gigahertz or better. I say or better because sometimes I get certain specs, and then sometimes it's a little bit better. Okay. So for the hard drive space, sometimes they have 256, but sometimes I get some that have a half a terabyte. Sometimes I get 8 gigs. Sometimes I get 16 gigs. And they're renewed laptops, but they're like, they look and feel like brand new laptops. It's a 64-bit version of Windows. And the screen display size, it should be 2.5 inches, but sometimes they're 14 inches. So that's the type of thing. I'm not trying to send you out like a cheap notebook that doesn't even run Windows. You know, something that
I've got one of them. You sent me one of them for a backup just in case I need it. And I love it. It's a great laptop.
Yeah. And I believe they come with Windows 10, and I absolutely love Windows 10 over Windows 11. It just seems like it just performs a lot better. Now on this workstation, I had to install Windows 11 because I put together some hardware that was on the bleeding edge, so it needed some of the drivers, whatever. But I actually like Windows 10 a lot more than 11. But that's the laptop. Just so there's no mystery in that. Okay, so I'm pretty much offering everything except the kitchen sink in this offer, trying to sweeten it up for you guys. Okay. But Kurt, is there anything that you would like to say about what we have here for the I should probably make us smaller
Yeah,
so I
there
can
you
see
go.
this thing a little better,
Yeah.
huh? There we
There you
go. I like it.
Yeah,
Um,
I just love this thing. This personal pocket coaching. Um,
why?
now okay, so there's so many things I want to talk about with this. First of all, it gives me an opportunity to talk about whatever I feel is important in the moment. You know, we've made this thing to be where it's like real flexible. It might seem random to you guys, but generally what happens is somebody has a question about how to do something, and what we do is we go out there and try to figure it out, and then we make a video out of it, and we put it into the personal pocket coaching. And what it is,
Yeah.
it just gives me an opportunity. And Darren, I'm talking for you. I don't like to talk for you when you're right here. You can say, but for me, what I enjoy the most about it is it gives me an opportunity to teach something in the way I like to teach it, whatever I feel is important in that moment. And I just, what I see in this is just it's a reference library. This is, so many of my especially in accelerator programs, when we go in and I got this 45-minute long video and I'm lecturing about something, this or that. And this one, it's just right bare bones. This is what it's about. So, and you guys have, I feel your pain about going out there and trying to find a video. You're trying to get something to work, and you got to go through just get to the point, man, and that's what this does. This gets right to the point. And you don't have to look far. And if you think about it, you're getting a video every day. So after a year, you're going to have 365 videos. There's a lot of topics covered in that. And we get an opportunity to talk about everything between beginners and advanced stuff. We get to talk about fundamentals, theory, philosophy, and actually practical stuff. And just cool stuff that we think is pretty neat. We see something that looks cool and we say, oh, let's go do it. I think one of the videos you're going to show in here is that the red bouncing ball at some point. It's just something I thought was cool and I put it together. It was fun,
It's the most popular one out of them all, Kurt. So we got to show this one.
Okay. Yeah. So what's the big deal to me is building your reference. And I'll probably talk some more about that later on, because that right there is a whole topic. But there's so much I love about this PPC. I think that if you're an aspiring Power Apps developer, if you're brand new, if you're an advanced developer, a programmer, you must get this. This is a must have, because it's just going to be a great collection. You're only as good as your reference library. And this is a reference library that's just going to keep growing. So.
Well, I can click on some of these. I mean, there's all kinds of really cool stuff in here, but let's just let them see what it's about. What are these bite-sized videos are about? Okay, so the Red Ball is probably the most popular. I'm gonna share with you guys this Red Ball.
He's been drinking Red Bull this morning. That's what it is.
So, Kurt, something could be said like, why would I care about a bouncing ball? Can you tell me what the value of learning how to do a bouncing ball and in Power Apps? What's the business value?
You were on a group call with our accelerator students the other night, and I thought you said it really well. So I'm just going to go ahead and talk about what you did. Okay.
Okay.
And you referenced the Karate Kid back in the 1980 video movie, right? The Karate Kid, and you had Mr. Miyagi out there, and he was trying to teach the guy how to do karate, but he wanted to learn how to fight, right? He wanted to go out there and say, let me just do this stuff. And, I've been there too. I just want to learn I want the cool stuff. Just give me the cool stuff. And he's like, no, go wax the car, wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off, wash the fence, and just try to get the fundamental motions of things so that it makes it easier, right? That's what he was really doing. Well, so I'm doing these videos now. I do some pretty challenging videos, or very challenging labs, some people say. And in the middle of this thing, I threw out this thing out there called the animated bouncing ball. Make this ball go. And a lot of people were poo-pooing it. They're like thinking it was silly, because I'm a database developer here. I read records, write records, and process records. I don't mess with games. I don't mess with sprites. I don't mess with animation. But contraire. Because see, here's the thing: if you can control a bouncing ball, then you have control over your applications. That's number one. Okay. And I really believe my philosophy is about programming is you must be in control at all times. So have control over your program, and it teaches you control. Number two, how many times do you have to deal with relative positioning? And in this day, everybody wants responsive apps. Well, nothing responds like a bouncing ball. So if you can control a bouncing ball, you can control a responsive app. You know, it's the same science. And just recently, and so that your Karate Kid reference was really great on our students, because the students were like, yeah, you know. And this one guy, one student of ours, he ended up having an application that did exactly all the tenets of the bouncing ball, but he did it within a business application, you know. So this stuff's important.
Yeah, it is. And a lot of times in Power Apps, you need to think outside the box. And if you can figure out these puzzles of how to do things that you know, you develop these muscles or these skills to be able to implement some out of the box type of solution, which is really needed. So
That's right.
I'm really excited. And
remember, people pay big money for this.
that's my favorite little quote. Back when you were teaching me in community college, whenever you said that, I always knew it was going to be on the exam, but also out in the business world, it was worth a lot of money. You know, people pay big money for this or earn a lot of money from this. So
right, there's little things that we do that separates the pros from the people that want to be pros, you know, or the very well experienced from the ones that are just average bears, you know. Those little things like that. That's when I think of people pay big money for this, that means that's a pro tip coming your way, man. And you better learn it.
All right. We ready to go with this?
Well, sure.
Here we go.
Fun with some animation. Did you know that you can do animation with Power Apps? Maybe you did. Have you ever tried it? It's a lot easier than you think. It's a lot easier than you realize. And I just real quickly want to try to show you how to do some simple animation using a bouncing ball as the image of a bouncing ball, okay? Just for an example. So I want to start this thing off. I've got two bouncing balls over here, and one of them is going to go up and down, and the other one's going to go from left to right. The X property for your image control and for any control that's visible, if you have XY properties, but the X property goes from left to right. And as we increment the value, it starts at 0 from the leftmost side of your screen. You're going to increment that value all the way over to the app.activescreen.width. That's how you find the rightmost side, the higher end. The height or the Y property is going to start at 0 at the top, and you're going to increment that value to go to the app.activescreen.height. And all we're doing is we're incrementing a value. Now imagine this being a number line. Remember back when you was younger, when we were younger and we had number lines we were playing with? You're just imagine this being a number line going across the screen, and you're just going to increment that 20 or 25 spaces each time, pixels in this case. And then what we're going to do is if we hit this, we're going to make it go backwards, which means we're going to subtract it, going back to 0. And then when it hits this, we're going to go backwards again. We're going to start adding again. So we got to think about how we do that too. And this is all going to be done with a timer. A timer and 4 variables. Let's take a look at the variables first. We're going to go ahead and in the screen on visible. Oh, don't have it there. It's probably on select. Here we go. I've got my 4 variables set up. The LOC, they're local variables, update context, LOC red ball X. I'm going to initialize these to 25. And then I have 2 variables, move X, LOC move X, LOC move Y. Same thing, LOC move red ball Y, LOC red ball X. So these 4 variables are going to control everything here. And all I'm going to do, this red ball X variable is going to keep track of my X position. And I'm going to place it in here, in this image right here, this image control, image X. I'm just going to place this local variable right in here, red ball X. And wherever that's at, that's going to go, it's going to move it across the screen, whatever value's in there. And on this one, I'm going to put LOC red ball Y. And see where it jumped it down, because that's where the value was at that moment. So so it's initialized. I initialize this in the reset right here. And then on this timer, I've got the timer set up. I've got the text to be called reset. I just have reset sitting in there. I've got the timer set to be repeating to auto start, and the auto pause is off. And then when I come over here into the timer's start property, I have it set to true. So then I have this on select. Inside the on select, that's where I reset or initialize my variables. Now you'll see this LOC move X is 1. LOC move Y is also 1. That again is going to determine whether or not we're going to the right or to the left, or if we're going down or going up. Okay. So let's see what happens. Let's go look at the code here for this. In the timer end, on the timer end, I've got the duration set to like 1 over here. See the duration set at 1. In fact, let me get my browser up to about 150 here so that you guys can see the code. The code will look a lot better this way, I think. We're going to go ahead and click on this. Now we can see this. Doesn't that look a lot better that way? All right, so how come that is not letting me go up? Oh boy. Let me see if I go back down here. That figures here. Click this. Move this down. Oh, I have to expand it that way. There we go. Okay. And then if I hit my zoom, okay. So what we've got going on here is we've got two conditions going on. One condition is for the X coordinate, and one condition is for the Y coordinate. And all I'm doing is I'm testing to see if my red ball X is plus the width, the X plus the width is going to be hitting the app screen, the active screen dot width. Or if the red ball X is less than 0, that means it's the left side. Same thing with red ball Y plus I want this red ball Y plus the red ball height. I want that to equal active screen height, or if the LOC red ball Y is less than or equal to 0. I'm going to update this context. Now this is where the magic happens with whether we're going up or down. Now think about your order of operations and your negative times negatives. So if you have a negative times a positive, that's always going to be a negative. So if your number is a negative and you times it by a negative, it's going to turn it into a positive number. The product will be a positive number. If the number is positive and you times it by a negative, well, then the product is going to be a negative number. And what we're going to do is we're going to move this every time we go through this loop, every time this timer ends, we're going to move this X 20 positions times LOC move X, which the first time it's going to be 1 times 1. 20 times 1 is 20. So we're going to move it over 20. And then once we hit the wall, we're going to times this by -1, and then we're going to make that a -1, right? Because if it was a positive 1, we times it by -1, that's going to be a negative. So then it's going to be 20 times a -1, which was what? -20. So now we're going to go down to our number line and we're going to add -20 to it. Well, adding -20 is the same thing. It's essentially subtracting. So you're going to subtract 20 from it until you get down to 0. And then, I'm going to do this again. It's going to be a -1 times a -1, which makes that a +1. And then I'm going to say 20 times a positive 1. I'm going to start incrementing it again. And I'm going to do the same thing for the y. So let's see what happens when we run this program. Look at that. It's hitting the wall and it's changing. It hits that and it switches it over to a -1. And then it switches it over to a +1. And it's doing the same thing over here. Now, I want to show you something else too. We are plotting, every time you see this move, it's plotting the XY coordinate of, now it's plotting the XY coordinate of the screen. It's the Y coordinate is never changing on this one, and the X coordinate is never changing on this one. But this is all 100% relative right here. It's 100% relative position. If I bring this down, everything is going to be wherever you're at with your X, it's going to also place the Y. And wherever you're at with the Y, it's also going to place the X. And what that means is that wherever you're at, you're going to be plotting that position on the screen. And let's do that. Let's move. Right now we have in this X property, let's change this over here to our Y property. And let's go LOC, move Y. Not move Y. LOC red ball, Y. Let's try that. And let's see what happens when we run it now. Now you'll see it's plotting both sides, the X and the Y, and all the collisions that we programmed are all working. Now, we don't have a collision program to hit this ball, so it's just going to pass through it like it's a ghost. But we could make it hit that. If we saw that, we could say, oh, change directions again, you know? Isn't that neat? So that's how you do animation. Use a timer. You can increment the timer, but how much you increment every time the timer goes through its cycle will either speed it up or slow it down. And also how fast you have the timer going. That's another way to speed it up or slow it down. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that. And something I am going to do is I'm going to put our email address out here, support@news.us. If you guys have any questions about anything that you've seen here so far, anything about the offer, or really anything else, if you just need some help, have any questions, there is our email address, goes to both me and Kurt and a few other individuals on the staff. Kurt, what do you think? Do we have enough time to show one more PPC video?
Yeah, why don't you show go up to the January ones there.
Now I have one ready. And,
okay. You got ready. Is it the color one?
Something about a sequence. Now that one is let's see, 15 minutes.
That's kind of long. Yeah. You got the setting color one?
Not yet. No.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, let's go ahead and show the sequence here. And I think you guys are really going to like this.
I want to talk to you guys about sequence in this video, the sequence function. The sequence function is created to work with the for all function. And the for all function was created, it actually extends the functionality of a for all function. The for all function was created in order to loop through a data source. It might be a collection, or it might be a table. And it would simply just go through each record one at a time until the very end of the file, and you would perform some task within that. But that's sort of a do while loop type thing, right? Whereas a for next loop is where you know the number of times you need it. That's when you want to use that. When you know that you know the exact number of times that you need to use that loop. It needs to go through that loop. And the sequence function allows you to do that. Most people think that there's one parameter with the sequence function, but there's actually 3. And it makes it a very powerful function. Like I said, it extends the power of the for all function and turns it into a for next looping construct. So let's go ahead and go to the screen here. And I have a program where I'm reversing a string with a for all and a sequence. And you guys might have seen this a few videos ago. I created a challenge for you guys to see if you guys can implement that. Well, I'm going to go ahead and reveal some of how I handled that. And it's a perfect scenario for using the sequence. And when I try to do examples of different kinds of functions or whatever we're dealing with at that moment, I like to do something that's a little bit beyond simple. A lot of times people like to give you a simple thing so that you can understand it, but then you don't see the imagination doesn't let you work through this and see how you can really make that thing more powerful. So I like to do something a little bit more complicated so that you have to think outside the box. And if you see that example, well, then you'll be able to understand simple, and you'll be able to see how powerful this function really is. Most people think of sequence like saying, okay, I want to do something 10 times, and I'm going to go through it. But there's so much more you can do with this. And I want to explain this within this little app I've got here that reverses a string. In this case, what I'm going to do is I've got a text input box, and I'm going to just type my name in there. I'm going to click reverse the string, and it's going to create another string here. This Kurt now becomes truck. If I type Darren and hit that, it's going to be Nirad. That's his World of Warcraft name, right? So let's go ahead and see how that gets done. First thing I want to do is I want to show you the text input boxes. And in here, this is just the name. We care about the name here. TXT string to reverse. That's pretty important. That's what we're going to reverse the contents of whatever's in here. In the label, in the text property, you'll see I have a collection, and I'm using the first function, which goes to the very first record in whatever data source you use. It could be a table or a collection. I know this is a collection because I named it COL. I prefixed it COL. That's my naming convention that says that's a collection. And I've got a field in here called dot reversed string. It's the only field in this collection. We're going to show you how that's created here in just a moment. Let's go to it. In the button right here, this is where all the stuff's done. And I want to focus on this right here. This part right here. This sequence, you'll see this is the focus of this whole video right here. This sequence, I've got the length of the trim of the string to reverse dot text. That's the first parameter. But then I've got a second parameter here, which is the same thing. So in the sequence function, the first parameter is the number of iterations that you got to go through. In this case, we want it to be the length of the string. And I put a trim in front of it in case there's any kind of leading or trailing spaces. Get rid of the spaces. And it's going to be whatever the length is. In the terms with Kurt, when I type Kurt in, that would be 4, right? The second parameter is where to start your string at. You can start it at any place. You can start it at 1, or you can start it at 4. In this case, it's going to be 4 because I'm going to reverse this string. So I want to go to the very end. I want to go to the very end. So the first parameter is the number of times you want to iterate. The second parameter is the starting position of your loop. The third parameter is the step parameter. How many times, how much do you want to step each time? You could do this like if it was 1 through 100, and you could say step 5. It would be every 5. So it'd be 5, 10, 15, 20. If it was 10, if you put a 10 there, it'd be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Step minus 1 means I'm going to go backwards. So if I'm using Kurt, and I've got 4, it's going to start, it says, I want you to loop 4 times. I want you to start at position number 4, and I want you to go backwards 1 space. Okay? So that's all the sequence is. Again, first parameter, the number of times you're going to iterate. The second parameter, the starting position of your iteration. The third parameter, how much do you want to step? How far do you want your step to go? And it can go backwards as well as forwards. Okay. So in this case, I'm starting my thing at 4. I'm going to go 4 times, and I'm going to go as minus 1. So now that's going to be that works as my data source. You'll see right there, this highlighted text here works as the data source as in the for all function. We're going to talk about for all in depth later, But for now, just know that the first parameter is going to be the data source. So sequence works as a data source. Now, you'll notice here I've got this as my. I like to use aliases in here. You could use this record dot. Down here, you'll see my being used right here. You'll see I've got a my dot value. You could say this record dot value. Now that's another important point of sequence. When I run this code, let's actually see what's in here, the sequence. If you look down here, I don't know if I can even get to that. Let's see if I make that smaller now. Look at this. Okay, so I used this last time with Darren, right? And this is actually what happens in the sequence. It actually creates a small table for you, a one field length table. And the table's name is going to be called value. And it starts, because I started backwards, I started in position 6 with Darren, because he has 6 characters, not 4. And I went backwards 1 time, all the way down to 1. See that? So you can actually see the way this thing's working. You can actually see it playing out. I love this little feature of Power Apps right here, where you can just click on an item and it shows the contents below it. So you can see how this is working. It puts a thing in there called value. Now you could say this record, but the reason why I like to use aliases is because within Power Apps, sometimes, especially if you're doing any kind of nesting loops or nesting ifs, it can't resolve the ambiguities between which data source you're working with. But if I use my, I don't have to use this record. This record is usually what we use with for all. It's built to be used with for all. But you can also give it an alias name, like as my. So I'm taking the sequence of this data source and I'm giving it an alias name of as my. So now my becomes the label, the name of this sequence function, the output of this sequence function, the table. This table right here, this table of values, right? The name is value there. So what I do is I go through and I loop. Now I'm doing a patch here. Now this is why I like collections. You know, in a for all, you can't use update context and you can't use set, but you can do collections. So that's why I've got a collection used in here, because I want to use a little variable that allows me to keep track of things. And I've got this thing called reverse string. I do a clear collect up here, create a collection called call reverse. And I put a field in here called reverse string, and I initialize it to nothing. So when I come in here then, I start backwards. I go to, let's say Darren. I go to the 6th position, which is an N. And I'm going to go through this thing one at a time. First it'll be 6, then it'll be 5, then it'll be 4, then it'll be 3, then it'll be 2, then it'll be 1, and then it's done. So then I come in here for each one of those. On the 6th one, I say patch. I'm going to patch this record source, call reverse. And right now it's empty. In the beginning, it's empty. Right now it's got NIRAD in it. But in the end, or in the beginning, it's going to be empty. Let me get this blown back up again here. So there's only going to be one record in this collection. I'm only using it. This is kind of my replacement of an update context variable. I just want one variable in here, and it's going to be reverse string. So I use the first because it's the first record. It's the only record, but I got to give it a record number. So in the patch, the first parameter is the data source, call reverse. The second one is the record. In this case, it's always going to be the first. The third parameter is going to be the fields that are going to be updated. In this case, there's just one field, because again, I'm just treating this like it's a variable. And it's going to be called reversed string. And remember, we initialized it to empty right up here. Down here, each time it comes through here, I'm going to say first reverse. Now, here's another thing. You can't just say, in some programming language, you can say reverse string equals reverse string plus some value to increment it, right? You can't do that in Power Apps. You have to resolve the address every time. You see in the patch here, this second parameter is the resolution of what am I working with here? What do you want me to work with? I want you to work with the very first record of that collection. So I come down here to reverse string and it says, okay, what am I working with when you want me to add something to it? You're saying reverse string is going to equal what? Well, it's going to equal that value, the same exact value, this same one right here. Now this time, instead of saying first call reverse, I've got a dot reverse string here. That's the actual field right here. So I'm going to say that field contents, and I use an ampersand because I'm splicing two strings, not just numbers. It's a concatenation. And what I'm doing is I'm using an ampersand, and then I'm going to use this mid function. Now, again, some of these functions are things we're going to talk about later. But for now, I just want you to see what we're doing here. We're doing a mid. I'm taking the middle, the middle one character. You see this right here in the mid? You got this parameter here. You could say 3 characters, 5 characters, whatever character amount you want to take. But I'm taking it in the middle. And I'm saying the middle, I'm taking this trim. This is what I'm working with right here. This is the value that I'm working with. That's the first parameter of mid. The second parameter is going to be the starting position that you're taking, which is going to be my dot value. So it'll be 6, then it'll be 5, then it'll be 4. And I'm only going to take one character. So what I'm saying is, every time I come through that loop, I'm going to be working with one character. And this middle parameter is where I'm going to take the starting position, and it's the finishing position too, in this case, because there's only one. So the starting position and finishing position is going to be that character right there. So the first time it will be N, because we're doing Darren, and it'll be 6. And it'll be N, then it'll be E, and so on and so forth, all the way up to D. And I'm working my way backwards through this string. That's all I'm doing here. And that's how the sequence works. So let's run it one more time. I'm going to put Ellie in here. And that almost spells the same thing, doesn't it? So I want to go into this right here. And this sequence value, it's a list. It starts with 5 and then goes all the way down. Now I gotta make that go smaller again here. I'm gonna bring that down just a little bit. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The reverse string, in this case, is going to be right here. It's going to be EIL. Okay. So the string to reverse is going to be Ellie. So there you have it, guys. That's pretty much the sequence. Remember, first parameter is the number of times you want to go through the loop. Second parameter is going to be the starting position. Third parameter is going to be the step counter. And you can go minus. Thanks for watching. Hope it helped. There we have it.
There you have it, and there you are. I really like that. That's a good deal. Any thing else that you'd like to share, Kurt? There, I have one more thing to share, but I'll let you go first.
I just think that I don't know. I just think this is a really great offering that you've got going on here, and yeah. I have a lot of fun doing them too.
Yeah, the big question on my go ahead.
As you can tell, that's all I'm saying.
Well, probably the big question in your mind is, what video should you watch next, right? And YouTube thinks you're going to like this video next. Let's see if they're right. Or you can select this playlist, which I've selected for you based on the content you're currently watching. Guys, got to hurry. Click one of them. Otherwise, YouTube's going to autoplay some other video.